How's it going? Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to hand stitch a corner of a step and get beautiful results just like this. So in this video, we're going to be showing you how to upholster a three-sided step without using a staple gun or hot glue. We're simply going to be using the old-fashioned traditional method of hand sewing. Stick around, you won't want to miss this. So I've got my piece already cut. I guess let's point out right here how I have the corner of my step prepared. I've got duct tape on my nose, and I also have that corner right there secured all up with duct tape just to make it nice flat. This right here is going to be is to prevent the pad from breaking down over time. You always want to put duct tape on your nosing. Also right over here, let me show you how I have my tack strip on the edges. So I have it cut in a V shape right there, so that way I can have my pad go all the way over like that, and it just keeps a clean flow of the carpet all the way over. And also right here I have done the same thing. I have a V shape cut in my tack strip there, allowing my pad to go all the way over there. So that just keeps it a nice consistent flow as it goes all the way over to the edge of our step. So I've got this side row cut. Now we're ready to go ahead and place it on. I'm going to allow myself just a few inches on the bottom and on the top as I get this placed on here, and just basically line this side right here. Okay, once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and get this secured off at the bottom. I do have tack strip on the bottom, so I want to go ahead and get this tucked in there so that it gets a hold right underneath of my tack strip. Okay. All right. Okay. I got that stuck there. I'm going to go ahead and give myself a little cut about maybe 3 inches from the corner of the step over. I want to have this part completely trimmed down as it's going to be when it's installed. So about right there's my corner. Let me go ahead and do right there, and I'll just give me enough extra right here so I can give me a legitimate tuck like it's supposed to be. So right there, that's what we want. That's going to be the finished look. We got the rest of this tucked in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and give me a kick back because I want this somewhat stretched in place whenever I make my cuts on this corner to get it wrapped around. Okay, that was the reason for securing this off here. The reason for cutting this down flush right here, I'll show you in just a minute. Okay, right now I want to go ahead and get that stuck back there tightly. Give it another bump. Oop. Might help if I pull the teeth out. Give it another bump right there. And that's going to be good. Like I said, we're just getting a little bit of a stretch there in order to get my cuts down here. Okay. Now what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and cut this down so it'll fall over the edge. Just about like so. I can actually cut a little V out of that. Is what I want to do now is I'm going to take me a marker, and underneath this carpet right here, right along the front of this, let's see here, might be able to see right here. That way you can see exactly what I'm going to do. If you can take a look under there, I'm going to take my marker, and right here at the edge of my step, I'm actually going to angle it just a little bit rather than holding it flat, because I don't want it to be pulled out this way any. I want it to actually be right dead on my corner right there. Okay, so I'm just going to put me a mark right down the front of my step like that. That's what I want. See that? Now when I push that in, that's dead on my corner. That's exactly what I want. Okay, it is important, very important, that we get it all the way to the top. So right where it reaches the top corner, I'm going to put me a line out that way. That is going to be my reference point. Okay. All right, with that being done, I've got my marks made now. I can go ahead and pull this step off, lay it flat out on the floor, and carry on with the process. Coming out right there, this is the edge of the step, okay? So what I want to do, I'm going to line this line up with my square, make sure it's nice and straight with my square, and I want to stop right on my mark right here, okay? Now I'm going to make a cut here and make a cut here, okay? Try when you're doing this not to cut any face fibers, okay? That's really important. Okay. Now I better come this way so I can use my right hand. Okay. I only want to cut through the backing of that. If you need to come back and retouch it up a little bit with, after you get that out of the way, by all means, and definitely got to do it. All right. Now I've got that done. The next thing I want to do, this is an action back carpet. So technically an action back carpet does not take, it don't take a thread and needle real good, because as you see right there, and anywhere, honestly, if you poke something in it, this stuff will just rip apart, okay? Watch right here. So about a 1/4 inch from the edge, you can take, and if you put a lot of pressure on it, see how that stuff does? It'll just rip apart. So to give myself extra stability and extra strength along the edges where I'm going to be pushing my needle and thread, I'm going to take some all natural latex. Now this is not acrylic. It's not the stuff that smells like Elmer's glue. This was 100% natural latex, okay? This stuff is completely different than the Elmer's glue, some people call it, but it's actually acrylic seam sealer. Definitely not the same thing, okay? I'm just going to put me a little bead out right there. Now that looks a little discolored there. It's because I put a safety pin in there, and sometimes it'll rust and get a little different colored right there on the edge, but that's okay. All right, so I got that in there. I just want to get this pushed into the backing real good, and then after I get this, careful there not to get it on the fibers. I just want to get about 1 inch or so, 1.5 inches, whatever, along the edge of this, and I want to get plenty in there. I want to fill in all of those little deep recesses in the back of this action back carpet. I want to fill them up with latex. Once this dries, it's going to be nice. It's going to be a lot more stable than pulling on the regular action backing. Now, is this going to make it a little bit harder to push the needle through? It is going to make it a little bit tougher, but your action back is not going to fall apart on you while you're trying to stitch it up and put pressure on it, also from kicking it on your step. So this is, again, just a preventative measure to keep your carpet all intact while you're doing your stitching. See these little bitty spots on the edges? I'm being sure to get those in there. Okay. We got about 1 inch or so around the edge now. That's plenty. And it is settled into all those deepest recesses. So now I can take just a scrap. I want to pull it away from the edge versus going to it, so that I'm not pushing it over on my fibers. I can already see right here, I actually have a little bit on one of those strings. I want to be real careful. Pull that away. Don't want that stuff in our seam. Ooh, look at there. You got to be careful with that. There we go. Okay. Now, again, I want to rake this just like a trowel. I want to have it at an angle, pulling it away from the edge, okay? There we go. Alrighty. Now, a little bit more excess off of it. We are just strengthening up the back, and that is sunk in all of those recesses, and it's soaked in a little bit now, so that I'm not sitting here waiting on it forever. I'm going to take my heat gun and I'm going to hold it at a safe distance so that I don't melt the face pile on this, and I'm going to go ahead and put some heat to it and dry it up a little bit. Again, you want to keep this at a safe distance so that you don't melt your face pile, melt the backing. A lot of this stuff is plastic, so you got to be careful, and it will melt just like plastic as well, I guarantee it. If you haven't dealt with a heat gun much on a carpet backing, you'll be surprised how little heat it takes for that backing to start singeing up and melting. So you see, I got about a foot away. I just want to blow hot air in that direction. I'm not trying to cook it or anything like that. About a foot away and just blowing hot air in that direction. Okay, so I want to check this now and see if it's going to be dry enough. How I want to do that, I'm just going to simply push on my latex, and you'll actually, see right there, that's what I was checking for. It'll actually pop out of there, just like maybe you're popping a pimple or something like that. If it's still wet under the surface, it'll pop out just a little bit. See that little bit right there? So you want to make sure all that stuff has plenty of time to dry, or else when you're stitching it together, it could go over into your face pile. So, there was a good one right there. See that? So to the touch, it's all good, but when you put pressure on it and squeeze it, there's a good chance it could. And when you're pushing your needle and thread through it, it's actually going to be going through that, which is going to be wet and also dragging up by your face pile. So there's a really good chance you could get that on your face pile. So just check it like that. If you're still pushing out little wet puddles like that, give it a little bit more heat, okay? What I'm going to be using is a 2.5-inch needle and some waxed thread. I will leave a link to these things in the description. I'm going to take and pull out, I'm not going to need a whole lot, so we'll just do 1 arm length like that right there, because you're going to double your thread. So you want to make sure you have plenty versus not enough. So always allow yourself plenty. And by the way, if you're doing a longer seam, you can actually do 1 and then about 3/4 of another arm length. Again, because you are going to double this up. So whatever length you pull out, it's only going to be half that. So if you do 2 arm lengths, technically it's only going to be 1 arm length. And you don't want it any longer than that, because you're going to be sitting here pulling a needle through like this, and you don't want a ton of thread to get knotted up, stuck on the corner of your carpets and all that kind of stuff like that. The longer it is, the more chance, and trust me, it will get knotted up too. Every time you're pulling it through there, this thread's going to spin a little bit and it will get knotted. I always want to do a double thread anytime you're stitching. So I want to just get the ends of my thread even right there, and then I want to take and get this positioned so that I can turn it around and get it in a particular way for my comfort. Now, if you haven't done this a whole lot, this is a really good way right here. You have your pointer finger right down in between the 2 pieces, and your middle finger and your thumb just like that right there, so you can hold it real nicely, holding it together and all that stuff. And you always want to start at your corner and work to the edge of it, okay? Don't ever start down here at the bottom and work up, or else, watch this, you could end up with a situation like this where you're going to have a big bulge right here or a pucker or something like that. So always start at your corner and work down to the end. And also, the reason a while ago why I cut my bottom piece down and tucked it, this is where I want my stitches to stop, okay? So you don't want to go past it and have to cut through your thread and stuff like that. So you want to stop your stitches where they need to be so that you got a good tying off spot or a lock knot there at the end, okay? So again, I want to just start out with, I'm actually going to come back. So right here's my corner. I want to come back just a little bit past it. I want to get about 1 stitch, maybe 2 stitches past the corner. I don't want to start on the corner. When you're doing your stitches, you want to get the goal is to only get in the backing of the carpet. You don't want to go real deep and then back up through it like that, because what happens when you do that, you're actually going to go over the fibers like this, and then when you pull your thread back down, it's going to pull those fibers down and look like little dimples and stuff like that. So the plan is only go through the backing on both pieces whenever you're doing this. So keep your needle shallow, okay? If that makes sense. I don't know if I don't want to go deep in it. We'll just say that. Okay, I'm going to get me a lock stitch right here to start off with first. A lock stitch is just a single stitch right through the same hole. That way it's going to keep it from moving there. Now see, I got just one stitch right through it. Now I can start my regular sewing stitches, okay? You'll notice me doing that right there quite a bit. I'm just tucking fibers down in my carpet right there. You want to keep those down in there so that you're not getting fibers stuck up in it like this. It'll just make for an ugly seam, okay? Now I want to be about a 1/4 inch from the edge of my carpet into the backing, and the same thing over here on this side, about a 1/4 inch from the edge of this cut over into the material. So with those two together, that will equal up to a 1/2 inch, and you want about a 1/2 inch in between each stitch. You want a 1/2 inch spacing in between your stitches. So now once I get taken off, you'll see that that is what I start going for. Right here at the front, I'm just simply getting this corner really good. Okay. Don't be hesitant to get a nice strong pull on that, okay? I pull it so tight to where I feel like I'm fixing to pull the backing out. And then that's when I stop pulling. I don't want to tear it, but I want to pull it to the point where if I pull any more, it's going to rip. Simply pulling that out of there. Get me another good pull right there. You can always come back and tighten this up if you feel the need to, okay? All right. I'm about to have it where I can run with it now. All right. So again, about a 1/4 inch into the backing and about a 1/2 inch from this stitch to this stitch, okay, is the plan. Now, this might seem a little bit tedious. I don't know that I got enough thread here or not. It's actually not too bad once you get going on it. You'll see it'll actually move right along quite nicely here once we get going. And I'm just going to run all the way down it just like that. Keeping my fibers tucked down in there. 1/4 inch in, 1/2 inch apart. 1/4 inch in, 1/2 inch apart. I probably could have got away with a single thread on this. I was actually planning on it, but I wanted to point out that you don't, anytime you're doing a seam, you always want a double thread. Technically, this ain't a seam. This is just stitching up the corner of a step. So I could have got away with it. And I'm doing a simple loop stitch on this. You can get away with that only if you're not power stretching. If you're going to be stretching on it, you always need a double stitch. For instance, a baseball stitch, a running lock stitch, or something like that. You can never get away with just a loop stitch. If you're power stretching off of it, it will not hold. Keep that pulling tight. That is the main thing to making it look good, is keeping it nice and tight. Again, I pull it so tight where I feel like the carpet's fixing to rip, and then that's when I stop pulling on it. Once you get going, as you can see, it's just in and out, in and out, in and out. Don't actually take too awful long once you get going. I mean, I could be sitting here cutting this on the step, shooting staples, hot glue, or whatever, which would take approximately the same amount of time. And this is by far a better way to do it. You're not going to get better results than hand stitching any other way. This is absolutely the best way to do this. So your hot glue, your staples, all that stuff is good, but if you can do this, it's just the best way to do it. Keep pushing that fiber down. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to end up having enough thread here anyway. I was a little hesitant if I did or not. Anytime you start and stop your stitches, you always want a lock stitch. Technically, I didn't do enough up there. I should have done it twice, but I only did it once because I didn't want a big bulge of thread right there. Down here on the bottom, I will do a double lock stitch. It's not called a double lock stitch, it's just a lock stitch, but what you do with that is I did it once right there. I'm fixing to go through again. You always want to go through twice on a lock stitch, okay? Now that is a proper lock stitch where you go through twice. All right, never cut it close here. Leave yourself about 1.5 inches of thread. That's why I left it here, about an extra 1.5 inches thread and 1.5 inches thread here. That's going to prevent it from ever getting pulled out and through, okay? So that didn't take me too long. It probably took me maybe 6 or 8 minutes or something like that to do that. And you're going to spend, like I said, approximately that much time right over here cutting your step, making all those crazy little cuts down the side of the step, making it look halfway decent and stuff like that. And also, if you do it with a staple gun or hot glue and stuff like that, you're not able to get pad on the side of it. Right here, I got pad all the way around my step, which is a good thing. All right, let's get this thing turned inside out so we can get it placed on the step. Now, whenever I pull it inside out, you're probably going to think, ugh, that looks rough. You'll see it won't take much effort, and it'll start looking really good, okay? Anyway, I latex the backing so that it does hold up from the action back. Something I have found myself just from doing this as many times as I had done it. I don't know how many times, but just from doing this, I have learned that you need to hold this right here when you turn it inside out, or else there's going to be too much pressure on this point and the action back will try to break apart. So I simply pinch this with my finger and thumb, and then I just start folding it right through the center right there, and that holds all the pressure from breaking it. See, I still got a hold right there. Now I can let go since I got it turned inside out. And there we go. Before I mess with this too much, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over. I'm going to take the butt of my knife. Now you can use anything. You can use anything that you've got. The butt of my knife works real good. You can use a hammer handle, a mallet handle, or anything like that. But if you'll get down real close here and look, you can see how this is kind of pinched up right there. It's actually in a little pinch. That's because we pulled it tight whenever we did our stitches. Now I'm going to take this and I'm actually going to push that down flat. It's still going to have a little pinch to it, but it's just going to push it down flat and give it a lot better look on that other side. So I'm just taking and smashing it down flat there. Once I get that done, I think that's probably going to be pretty good right there. Maybe a little bit more right there. Smashing that peak down. And again, you can use your mallet handle, hammer handle, or something like that. You just don't want a pointy edge because obviously you don't want to gouge right through it. This is nice and rounded and smooth, and it's actually pretty daggone good for doing that. That's what I like to use. Now that I got that done, once again, I'm going to go over my stitches Now with another coat of latex, and that's going to coat those wax stitches. It's going to just secure everything up, make it nice and solid. These ends are going to be stuck down in there real nice. So what I want to do, I'm just going to squirt me some latex there, and nothing fancy. Again, you don't have to do nothing fancy. We're simply coating the stitches with latex. I can even take another scrap and get that excess out of there. We don't need all that extra. Just need something to coat those stitches and keep these loose ends stuck down in the latex, okay? I'll give that just a minute to dry. I can actually use my heat gun on that as well. Dry it up just a little bit and we can put this on the step. Okay, feels nice and cool now. It's still a little bit warm, but that's okay. I just didn't want it all hot where it was going to be likely to rip or pull apart or anything while we do this actual install of it. So I got it now. I'm going to go ahead and place it back on my step and get it installed, and then we will do the final trimming up of it just to pretty everything up after we get it completely installed, okay? So just placing it right on the step there, and you can see that did fall right nicely on the corner. That worked out real good using that 45 technique there. Again, I want to go ahead and get I could probably go ahead and get this tied off, kick it that way, tie this off, and kick that way. That's what I'm going to do. I feel like I'll get the best results like that. So let me go ahead and tuck this right down under there. I'll get me a kick back here. There we go. Okay. Get that nice and stuck there. And also, anytime you're working on a step, I'll show you another little trick, how to get it nice and tight on them edges there. If you can't get it in your length, stretching just like I just said I was fixing to do, I'll show you a little trick there that'll help you out. I'm actually going to work this carpet right back to this corner here and down at the same time. And you'll see that's just going to secure everything up right there, okay? I'm going to take my carpet. Again, right here, I'm going to pull out with this hand, push down and under the tack strip with this hand. It's going to tighten all this right here up really nice. Then what's left, I'll be able to kick out that direction, okay? So watch, I'm pulling out, down and under. Same thing right here. Down and under. Down and under. There we go. If you have any little bit left, you can always push it a little bit more there, okay? Now I got the back. I can take and do the same thing with it. Give my little hook. There we go. Right to the back there. Okay. Now, this is all secured off. I'm going to go ahead and get my kick that direction. If I need to come back and do anything else to this side, I can do that at the very end. Okay, so you can actually see here, when I pulled on that, you can see how much I pulled because it actually came off of this a little bit. This was flush. So, definitely. That all good, and again I'm going to just down and under that tack strip on the front of this, and it's going to serve the same purpose as I was talking about just a while ago. It's just going to snug everything up there. Okay, so you're going to see actually quite a few people will take the butt of their stair nosing or even the front of their stair nosing. You might have seen me do it lightly a while ago. If you do it hard, that's actually a really bad idea because that will destroy the pins on your tack strip, okay? If you'll see this little rubber mallet here, the handle of that is a little bit chewed up, and there's a good reason for that, okay? I take and I will use this to push my carpet backing. I'll push the pins through the backing of my carpet using this hammer. And you can see that it simply pulls the wood away rather than bending my tacks over. So it don't hurt the tack strip if you use a wooden handle like this, okay? So I will always use I usually always have my rubber mallet when I'm doing steps, so that's why you see it chewed up, because I use it to do that. And if I don't know, let me do that again, and you can actually hear the tacks on the wooden handle. Okay, so you probably heard that right there. That lets me know when I hear the metal pins on the wooden handle, I know for sure that the tacks are actually stuck through the backing of the carpet, or else they would not touch my wood, okay? Now that I got that on there, it's all secured, stuck real good. I'm going to finish bumping it up this direction. Stick it with my hand. And there we go. I'm going to now take my wall trimmer, trim the back of that so I don't have to cut all that with my knife. Right there, and tuck it down. Get a nice little pretty look on that. Cut my corner. And I'm also going to use my carpet trimmer on this bottom as well. I'm going to take and use it just like this is the wall right here, only this way. Instead of using it like that, I'm going to use it like that. Same exact principle. This been the floor, this been the wall, okay? Same principle. That leaves me just enough without any guessing or getting too much. Okay. And this is going to be just like the corner right there. Finish tucking that in there. Get some nice results using that trimmer on the front of that. I love that. Okay. Now, I got this to deal with. Everything is nice and tight all around. I'm going to go ahead and trim this all down now, and we'll be good to go. I'll pretty up this corner a little bit after I get everything done, and you'll see it'll turn out. It still don't look the best right now, but you'll be surprised here in just a minute. Now, let's pretty up that corner a little bit. You can take and rub it just a little bit like that if you need to. You can take our roller, do a little something like that, do a little something like that. What that's doing is just blossoming, making this corner blossom out there a little bit. Any fibers that you see. So whenever I sewed that, this is the backings here. I showed you how it was a little pinched. So whenever I turned it inside out, it done that right there. So some of those fibers are pinched right down in this little bit right here. And whenever I'm doing what I'm doing right here, working it, it's just going to cause those fibers to blossom out there a little bit, okay? So you might need to take your shears to it a little bit. We'll see what all I have to do to it to get it satisfactory for the finished look. So again, I'm just rubbing it, and that's blossoming, making those fibers blossom out of there. Any of them that might have been, that was down in it there, you can already see it's starting to look better already. Just using my fingernails on that. And this will probably be the only time that you see me use a spiked roller. Okay. If you'll come in real close here, I want you to see what I'm fixing to do here. So you see this little bit right here. I want to take and trim that down just a hair. I'm not going to get nothing crazy on it. Just making it look pretty is all I'm doing. And this is absolutely expected and most of the time required to use these snips anytime you're doing hand sewing corners or anything like this. Nothing out of the ordinary. Okay. Just blending them in. If you'll come around on this side, you've got that shadow showing right on it. And that's what's making it look rough, I believe. Oops. How's that looking on it? I still don't look the best through the camera, does it? Let's see what it looks like. You can cut that for just a second if you want to. And that is how we do a three-sided step. No longer use the traditional staple gun and hot glue method. Since I've learned how to do this, it is definitely a lot better results. It takes a little bit of practice, so don't go out and do it your first time on a job. Build you a little box like this, do it at home. You can definitely get some good results like this in just a matter of 5 or 6 tries. You'll probably be getting a pretty good looking corner like this, okay? Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in to the channel. Until tomorrow, FBSB's out.